The voice from the alley. The morning sun was gentle, warming the streets of downtown Los Angeles with a quiet calm. It was a Tuesday, and everything looked ordinary. Cars moved in slow rhythm. People walked with coffee in hand, and the city hummed, with a familiar buzz. But something was about to happen, something that would change the lives of two people forever. Keanu Reeves had just finished filming a scene for a charity documentary. He wasn't wearing fancy clothes or sunglasses. He liked to blend in when he wasn't on screen. He walked toward a small cafe tucked between two old brick buildings, hoping to grab a quick breakfast before heading back to his trailer. He smiled and nodded at a passing fan, always humble, always kind. Just as he reached the door of the cafe, he saw a paper plate sitting on a small table near the alleyway. It had half a sandwich and some fruit on it. Next to the plate was a handwritten note. For anyone who's hungry. Keanu smiled again. Someone had left food for those in need. His heart warmed. But what happened next shook him to his core. He reached for the sandwich, curious to see what someone had left behind for the hungry. Just as his fingers brushed the plate, a sharp, frightened voice shouted from the shadows, "Don't eat that!" Keanu froze. The voice was high-pitched, young, and desperate. He turned slowly, scanning the alley. A child stepped forward. The boy couldn't have been more than 10 years old. His clothes were torn, his face smudged with dirt, and his eyes were what stopped Keanu in his tracks. They were full of fear and something else, something deeper, maybe pain, maybe hunger, maybe both. The boy pointed at the plate. "I saw someone put something in it. Some powder. I think it's poison." Keanu's heart pounded, not because he had almost eaten something dangerous, but because this child had just risked everything to warn a stranger. "What's your name?" Keanu asked softly. The boy hesitated. "Liam." Keanu looked down at the food. It did look a bit off. The fruit had a strange powdery sheen, and the sandwich, well, something about the smell didn't feel right anymore. He looked back at Liam. "How did you know?" Liam shifted his weight, clearly nervous. "I sleep over there, behind the bins. I saw a man earlier. He looked angry. He was talking to himself. Then he took that plate and sprinkled something on it. He said, 'Let's see how you like this.' Then he left." Keanu's stomach turned. Not because of the sandwich, but because of the cruelty in that statement. Someone had left poisoned food on the street, and Liam had watched it happen. "You saved me," Keanu said, kneeling to Liam's level. "Thank you." Liam looked away, his voice shaking. "I didn't want anyone to die, not even someone I don't know." Keanu nodded slowly. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. He didn't want to cause a scene, but someone needed to check this out. He called the police, told them what happened, and stayed on the line. While they waited, he sat with Liam on the edge of the alley. The boy looked down at his shoes. Well, what was left of them. His toes stuck out from holes in the front. His hands were trembling. "How long have you been out here?" Keanu asked. "A while," Liam whispered. "Since my mom left." Keanu felt something twist inside his chest. "Do you have anyone? Any family?" Liam shook his head. "Just me." The police arrived within 10 minutes. They cordoned off the area, collected the food, and asked a few questions. Keanu stayed close to Liam the entire time. The officers praised the boy for his bravery and said they'd look into it. They took the plate as evidence and promised to test it for toxins. After they left, Keanu turned to Liam again. "Are you hungry?" Liam nodded slowly. "Come on," Keanu said gently. "Let's get you something safe to eat." They walked together into the cafe. Keanu asked the staff to bring the freshest food they had. Pancakes, eggs, fruit, everything hot and clean. Liam's eyes widened as the plates arrived. "You can eat as much as you want," Keanu said. Liam picked up a fork and hesitated. "It's okay," Keanu reassured him. "I'm here." That one sentence seemed to unlock something in the boy. He began to eat, carefully at first, then with more confidence. He didn't speak. But he didn't need to. His silence told Keanu everything. He had been alone for too long, surviving on scraps, avoiding danger, and watching the world pass him by like he didn't exist. Keanu watched in silence, his heart heavy. After the meal, they stepped outside. The morning had turned brighter, but the shadows in Liam's eyes remained. "Where do you sleep?" Keanu asked. "Behind the diner on 6th Street, Liam replied. "It's quiet at night." Keanu nodded slowly. "Would you let me help you?" Liam frowned. "Why?" Keanu looked him in the eyes. "Because you helped me, and nobody gets through life alone." There was a long silence. Then Liam whispered, "What if you don't want me around after a while?" Keanu smiled softly. "Then we figure it out. Together." For the first time, Liam smiled back. Just a little. What neither of them knew in that moment was how much this single act of bravery would unfold into something so much bigger. Liam had saved a life, yes, but he had also opened a door. And what waited behind that door was more than either of them could have imagined. The next few days would test them both. Liam's past would catch up with him. Secrets would come to light. And Keanu would be forced to make a choice that would change not just his own life, but Liam's future forever. And it all started with a whisper from the shadows. "Don't eat that." The boy with no birthday. The air felt different the next morning. Not colder or warmer, just heavier, like the world was holding its breath. KeanuReeves sat at a long wooden table in his private trailer, sipping tea, staring at the small backpack Liam had carried with him the night before. It was torn in two places, held together by old shoelaces. Inside were only 3 items: a broken flashlight, a photo of a woman smiling, and a folded piece of cardboard with the words Liam, age 6 written in blue marker. Liam was asleep on the couch. Keanu had insisted he stay the night. He couldn't imagine letting the boy go back to an alley after everything. Besides, something deep inside Keanu had shifted. This wasn't just charity. This felt personal, and he didn't fully understand why yet. When Liam finally woke up, he sat up fast, confused. His eyes darted around the unfamiliar space, panic flickering behind them. "It's okay," Keanu said softly, stepping into view. "You're safe. You're with me." Liam blinked twice, then nodded slowly. Keanu smiled. "How about pancakes?" Liam looked surprised, then hopeful. "Again?" "Every good day should start with pancakes," Keanu said. After breakfast, they sat outside in the sun. Liam held the photo of his mother and stared at it for a long time. Keanu didn't ask any questions. Not yet. He waited. Finally, Liam spoke. Her name was Marie. She loved strawberries. She used to sing while she cooked. She told me I was going to be strong, like a tree. She said even if wind comes, I should not fall. Keanu listened quietly. Then one day, she didn't come home. "How old were you?" Keanu asked gently. Liam shrugged. "I think 6, maybe 5. I don't remember." "Do you know your birthday?" Liam shook his head. "No, but she said it was when the leaves started to fall." Keanu's chest ached. No child should grow up this way, without a family, without a birthday, without a home. "Liam," Keanu said, choosing his words carefully, "do you trust me?" Liam looked up. "I think so, because I want to help. Really help. Not just with food or a bed. I want to find out where you came from. Maybe someone is still looking for you. Or maybe we can start fresh. Together." Liam didn't say anything for a long time. Then he whispered, "Okay." They spent the afternoon visiting a local shelter. Keanu had called ahead, using a fake name to avoid attention. The staff were kind, gentle with Liam. They ran a quick check. No missing child reports matched Liam's face or name. No fingerprints on record. It was like he didn't exist. "Sometimes," the staff member said softly to Keanu, "these kids fall through the cracks, especially if their parent never filed anything, or if they moved a lot." As they walked back to the car, Liam tugged on Keanu's sleeve. "Does that mean no one's looking for me?" Keanu stopped walking. He knelt beside the boy. That means, I'm looking now, and I'm not going to stop. Liam nodded. His hand found Keanu's and he didn't let go. That night they drove through the city. Keanu didn't have a plan. He just wanted to be with Liam, to show him the world didn't always have to be hard. They passed the pier, the glowing Ferris wheel and the bright lights of the boardwalk. Want to go on a ride? Keanu asked. Liam's eyes lit up. Really? They rode the Ferris wheel together. Liam laughed as the city spun below them. For a moment he didn't look like a boy who had slept in alleys and warned strangers about poison. He looked like a kid, just a kid, full of wonder. Afterward they sat on a bench with ice cream. Liam held his cone carefully, savoring every bite. This is the best day ever, he said, grinning. Keanu smiled. Then let's make more days like this. As they drove back to the trailer, Liam fell asleep in the car. Keanu looked over at him, wondering how such a small child could carry so much pain. He thought about the man who had poisoned the sandwich. Who was he? Why had he done it? And could he have been targeting someone else? Someone like Liam? Keanu had a contact at a private investigation firm. He made a call, gave them what little information he had. A shadowy figure, angry, mumbled something about, let's see how you like this. The investigators said they'd look into it. By the time they got home, Liam was curled up like a kitten. Keanu carried him inside, laid him on the couch and covered him with a soft blanket. Then he sat down, took a deep breath, and began to search. Not for scripts or roles, but for Liam's past, missing reports, news clippings, anything. 2 hours later, something strange happened. He found a newspaper article from 3 years ago. It was about a woman named Marie Layton, single mother, went missing in Fresno. Left behind a 5-year-old son. Authorities searched for weeks. No leads. The photo in the article wasn't perfect, but it looked like the same woman in Liam's photo. Keanu's hands trembled slightly as he printed it out. He turned back to the couch. Liam was still asleep, breathing quietly. Keanu sat beside him and whispered, "We're getting closer." But something still didn't sit right. The article mentioned Marie's neighbor, a man who had filed multiple noise complaints, accused her of being unstable. His name was listed, Gerald Brink. Keanu wrote it down. Then for the first time in years he felt a chill. Not from fear, but from instinct. Something about this name, this man, didn't feel right. He looked at Liam and made a silent promise. Whoever hurt Marie, whoever left Liam alone, would face the truth. And Keanu Reeves wasn't the kind of man to give up. The next day, that promise would be tested in ways he never imagined. Because the past wasn't done with Liam, not yet, and some shadows, once touched, refused to let go. Shadows behind the smile. The morning felt quiet, too quiet. Keanu Reeves sat at his kitchen table, staring at the printout of the article. Marie Layton, 32, disappeared from Fresno without a trace. Neighbors described her as kind but troubled. The part that stuck in Keanu's mind was the neighbor's name, Gerald Brink. There was something about that name that made his gut twist. He had heard it before. Not in a personal way, but somewhere on the edges of his memory. A story, maybe. A whisper. Liam was still asleep on the couch, the soft blanket rising and falling with his breath. Keanu didn't want to wake him yet. The boy had been through too much in too short a time, but he also knew they were getting close to something. Maybe answers, maybe danger. He picked up his phone and called the private investigator he had hired. "Any update?" he asked quietly. "Actually, yes," the voice on the other end replied. "Gerald Brink has a record. Minor offenses mostly, disturbing the peace, public intoxication. But there's one sealed report from 3 years ago involving a missing person, Marie Layton. The case was dropped for lack of evidence." Keanu's heart tightened. "Do you have an address?" "We found an old one. It's in a rundown part of town not far from 6th Street. Keanu wrote it down, thanked the investigator. Then he stood up and looked over at Liam, who had just begun to stir. "Morning." Keanu said gently. Liam rubbed his eyes. Do we have more pancakes? Keanu smiled. Always. After breakfast, Keanu sat next to Liam and showed him the article. Carefully. Slowly. Liam, do you remember this woman? Liam looked at the picture for a long time. Then he nodded. That's my mom. Keanu took a breath. We may have a way to find out what happened to her. Would you want that? Liam's voice was barely above a whisper. Yes. They drove across town later that afternoon, past rows of old buildings and cracked sidewalks. The air seemed to change as they neared the address. The homes looked tired. Fences leaned sideways. Paint peeled like dried skin. They parked 2 blocks away. Keanu didn't want to bring Liam too close at first. He walked to the house alone, number 612, a small gray home with a metal door and boarded-up windows. He knocked once. No answer. Twice. Nothing. Then, as he turned to leave, a voice called out. You lost? Keanu turned. An old man stood at the edge of the yard, a bag of groceries in hand. No, Keanu said politely. Just looking for someone. Gerald Brink. The man's expression changed instantly. He doesn't live here anymore, the man muttered, looking around nervously. Left last year after some trouble. What kind of trouble? Keanu asked. Fights, yelling. Cops came a few times. Said he was keeping something in the basement. Nobody ever saw anything, though. Keanu thanked the man and walked back to the car. Liam was sitting up watching through the window. He's not there, Keanu told him. But I think we're on the right track. As the sun began to set, they returned to the trailer. Keanu couldn't shake the feeling that Gerald Brink was more than just a bitter neighbor. And Liam. There was something about him, too. The way he remembered things in flashes. The way he flinched at sudden sounds. He decided to dig deeper. That night, he called the investigator again. Can you get me into the sealed report? It's risky, the voice replied. But for you, I'll try. The next morning, the report arrived in an encrypted email. Keanu opened it and read slowly, his face tightening with every word. According to the file, Gerald had filed a complaint against Marie Layton, accusing her of being dangerous. But several neighbors said she was loving and calm. The file also mentioned a strange smell coming from Gerald's backyard. A police dog had picked up a scent, but nothing was found. Then the trail went cold. But the final paragraph was what made Keanu's stomach turn. The child was never found. Liam. They had never connected him to the case, maybe because he was found in Los Angeles and the case was closed in Fresno. But he was the boy in the story. The boy who disappeared when his mother did. Keanu walked to the couch, sat beside Liam, and gently asked, Do you remember anything else about that time, anything at all? Liam closed his eyes, then slowly words came. A dark room, wooden walls. I think I was in a box. It smelled like oil, and I heard someone upstairs, walking, laughing. Keanu's hands curled into fists. Whoever had done that to Liam had taken everything from him. He stood up. We're going to the police, but Liam grabbed his sleeve. What if he sees me? Keanu looked him in the eyes. He won't, and if he does, he'll have to go through me. The next day, they met with Detective Maya Chavez, a kind woman with sharp eyes. Keanu explained everything. The poisoning attempt, the article, the memories. She listened carefully, then nodded. We'll reopen the case. We'll also send a team to the property and run a forensic search. For the next 3 days, Keanu and Liam waited. Then, the call came. We found something. Detective Chavez told them that cadaver dogs had found evidence of human remains buried near the old house. Small bones, confirmed to be animal, but near them was a shoe, a child's shoe. Next to it, buried deeper, was a small bracelet. It had the name Liam scratched into the metal. Keanu's breath caught. His mother? We can't confirm yet, the detective said, but we believe so. The case was no longer quiet. It was now public. News crews camped outside the property. The name Gerald Brink was mentioned in local broadcasts. But Brink himself was still missing. He had vanished. Keanu knew what he had to do. He turned to his legal team and said, "I want to find this man, whatever it takes." Liam stayed close to him through it all. He rarely spoke of that night now, but his nightmares had returned. Keanu heard him crying in his sleep more than once. One night, as thunder rolled across the city, Liam whispered something as Keanu tucked him in. "I wasn't supposed to be the one who lived." Keanu knelt beside him. "Yes, you were." Liam looked at him, tears in his eyes. Why? Keanu didn't have all the answers, but he said the one thing that mattered: because the world needs you. And because you were brave enough to speak when it mattered. As the storm rumbled outside, Keanu made a new promise. Not just to Liam, but to himself. He would not let this end in fear. He would bring Gerald Brink into the light. Because Liam's voice, the one that had shouted, "Don't eat that," had saved him. Now it was Keanu's turn to return the favor. And soon, the world would hear the full truth. The man in the shadows, the days passed slowly, each one feeling heavier than the last. Liam stayed close to Keanu, barely speaking, carrying the weight of memories too big for someone his age. Outside, the news of the reopened case had taken over. Local headlines. Actor Keanu Reeves helps uncover cold case tied to missing child. One headline read, "Search intensifies for Gerald Brink," said another. But fame didn't matter to Keanu now. All he cared about was Liam and the truth. Keanu had dealt with darkness before in movies and in life, but this was different. This was real. A boy with no birthday, no home, no past, and a man who had taken everything from him was still out there, walking free. One morning, the private investigator called with a breakthrough. "We've tracked Gerald to a small town 2 hours north," he said. "He's been using a fake name, John Brindley. Works at a gas station. No phone, no internet, keeps to himself." Keanu's first instinct was to go there himself. But he stopped. He wasn't just a stranger anymore. He had Liam to protect. And justice wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. So he called Detective Chavez and gave her the address. Within hours, a small task force surrounded the station. Gerald Brink didn't resist. When they found him in the storage room behind the counter, he didn't even ask why. He just looked up, eyes hollow, and said, "I knew this day would come." Keanu and Liam watched the arrest on television. They didn't cheer. They didn't cry. They just sat quietly, side by side. The next few days were filled with questions. Police interrogated Brink. Lawyers got involved. And then, during one session, Gerald confessed. He had hated Marie for reporting him to child services years ago. Said she was trying to destroy his life. Claimed she stole something from him and needed to pay. He admitted to following her one night, breaking into her home, and forcing her into his basement. He never said exactly what happened next, but he said the boy was left to wander. Liam, the investigators were stunned. So was the city. Keanu was in the room when Detective Chavez shared the details. He didn't speak. He just looked at Liam, who sat quietly beside him, his small hands folded in his lap. "You were never forgotten," Chavez told Liam gently. "Your mom loved you. She tried to protect you." Liam's eyes filled with tears, not loud ones, quiet ones that slid down his cheeks without a sound. Keanu reached over and held his hand. The police confirmed through DNA testing that the bracelet and the photo both belonged to Marie. Though they hadn't recovered her full remains, the evidence was enough to charge Gerald Brink with murder, child endangerment, and kidnapping. Liam was no longer a ghost. He was now a survivor. In the weeks that followed, Keanu made arrangements, legal ones, emotional ones, and life-changing ones. He applied for temporary guardianship of Liam. The paperwork took time, but no one questioned his sincerity. His actions had already proven more than most parents ever. Had he also found a therapist for Liam, a gentle woman named Helen who used art and drawing to help kids speak. Liam started slowly, drawing broken trees at first, then slowly sketching roots and eventually green leaves. One afternoon, Liam showed Keanu a drawing. It was a picture of a tall man holding a boy's hand. Behind them was a house. And in the sky was a single word written in crayon, safe. Keanu didn't say anything. He just pulled Liam close and hugged him for a long time. They spent more time outdoors. Long walks in quiet parks, trips to the beach, even simple things like flying kites or building sandcastles. Liam began to laugh more, sleep better. The shadows in his eyes began to lift. One evening, while they sat watching the sunset, Liam asked something unexpected. "Do you think people can be happy again? After really bad things?" Keanu looked at the horizon, then at Liam. "I think they can," he said, "but it takes time and people who care." Liam nodded. "You care." "I do," Keanu said. "Very much." Liam hesitated, then said softly, "I don't want to go to another house. I want to stay here, with you." Keanu's eyes welled up. He placed a hand on Liam's shoulder. "Then, that's where you'll stay." In the courtroom, when Gerald Brink was sentenced to life in prison, Liam sat quietly next to Keanu. He didn't look at Brink. He didn't need to. The past no longer had power over him. After the trial, a reporter tried to ask Keanu about why he got involved. He paused for a long moment before answering. "Because no child should have to yell, alone from the dark," he said. "And sometimes the smallest voice is the one that saves everything." The clip went viral. Millions watched it. But that wasn't what mattered to Keanu. What mattered was Liam. His smile was coming back. He had friends at his new school. He was learning to trust adults again. He was sleeping without fear. And on the first day of fall, Keanu did something special. He threw Liam a birthday party. No one knew the real date, but that didn't matter. They picked the day the leaves began to fall, just like Marie had once. Said balloons filled the backyard. Kids from school came over, music played, and in the middle of it all, Liam stood beaming as Keanu brought out a cake with the words, "Happy Birthday." Liam written in icing. The boy laughed, then shouted, "This is the best day ever." Keanu smiled, remembering the first time he'd heard that. Then he knelt beside him and whispered, "You've earned every smile." What Keanu didn't know was that something else was waiting just around the corner. A letter, one that would bring another piece of Liam's past into the light and open a new door neither of them expected. The letter with no stamp bottom had arrived in full. Golden leaves danced through the streets. The air carried a quiet chill, and Liam's laughter echoed like music through the small home Keanu had built into a sanctuary. Life had changed so much in just a few short weeks. Keanu watched Liam grow into his joy, playing, learning, drawing, finally sleeping through the night. But peace, as Keanu had learned, never came without a whisper from the past. It started with a knock on the door, not loud, not urgent, just a gentle tap. Keanu opened it to find no one there. Only a small envelope sat on the doorstep. There was no return address, no stamp, just Liam's name written in uneven handwriting. Keanu looked around but saw nothing but leaves blowing across the sidewalk. He picked up the envelope and closed the door. Liam was building a puzzle at the table. "This came for you," Keanu said gently, placing the envelope beside him. Liam stared at it. His hands trembled slightly. Who knows I live here?" "I don't know," Keanu replied, sitting beside him. "But we don't have to open it right away." Liam didn't speak. Instead, he carefully peeled open the flap. Inside was a single sheet of paper yellowed around the edges. The writing was crooked and faded, but the words were clear. "Liam, if you're reading this, it means you survived. I prayed you would. I'm sorry I couldn't come back for you. He found out I tried to run. Please know that I never stopped loving you. You were always my brave little boy. If someone kind is taking care of you now, tell them thank you. For me. Love always, Mom." The room fell silent. Liam held the letter in both hands, not blinking. His lips parted, but no sound came out. Keanu placed an arm around his shoulders, gently pulling him close. Liam whispered. She knew. She knew I'd still be here. Tears streamed down his cheeks, but his face wasn't filled with pain. It was something else. Release. The letter, even though it brought sorrow, also brought something Liam hadn't had in a long time. Closure. Over the next few days, Liam carried the letter with him wherever he went. Folded neatly in his pocket, tucked, under his pillow at night, held tightly during quiet moments. Keanu didn't push him to talk. He just stayed close. A week later, Detective Chavez called with news. We traced the letter's paper and ink. It's old. We believe it was written years ago and left with someone, a neighbor or a worker who kept it hidden. The person who delivered it never came forward, but the fingerprints matched a woman who used to clean houses near Brink's property. She passed away last year. So it was real, Keanu said. Yes, the detective confirmed. And your boy. He was truly loved. Liam began asking more questions after that. About his mom. About the town they'd lived in. About life before the darkness. Keanu decided it was time. They took a road trip to Fresno. Just the two of them. They drove past fields and orchards through small streets where old memories waited quietly. When they arrived at Marie's old house, Liam just stood in front of it for a long time. It was run down now. No one had lived there since her disappearance. The windows were covered in dust. The yard was overgrown, but the tree in the yard still stood tall. She planted that, Liam whispered. Said it would grow strong like me. They stayed for a while. Liam didn't go inside. He just stood under the tree and touched the bark. Keanu watched from a few steps away, giving him space. Then Liam turned around and said, I'm ready. Ready for what? Keanu asked gently. To start again. They drove back home under a golden sky. Silence between them, but not empty. Full of understanding. Back in Los Angeles, Liam started doing something new. He began speaking at local youth centers, sharing his story. Not the painful parts in detail, but the hope. How even in the darkest places a voice can still matter. How one kind person can make all the difference. Keanu watched him with pride and quiet awe. This small boy who had once lived in shadows now stood in front of crowds, shining with courage. Then, one afternoon, something unexpected happened. A lawyer contacted Keanu. There's something you need to see, he said. We've just uncovered an old storage unit linked to Marie Layton. It was forgotten for years under her name. Recently reopened during a legal audit. Keanu and Liam visited the location together. The storage unit was small and dusty. Inside were old boxes, books, clothes, and a sealed envelope with Keanu's name on it. Keanu opened it slowly. Inside was a note, dated just months before Marie disappeared. To whoever finds my son, please love him. He deserves the world. I've written a journal. Everything is inside. One day when he's old enough, let him read it. The journal was there, wrapped in cloth. Keanu handed it to Liam. When you're ready, Liam nodded. That night, Liam sat in bed holding the journal in his lap. He didn't open it yet. He just held it like a treasure. Do you think she wrote about me a lot? He asked. I know she did, Keanu replied. Liam smiled. Then he whispered something that made Keanu's heart ache in the best way. I want to write my own journal one day, about how I found you. Keanu blinked away a tear. I think that's a story the world needs to hear, he said. They sat together in the quiet of that night, both knowing the journey wasn't over, but also knowing they didn't have to walk it alone. But just when everything felt finally settled, something happened that neither of them expected. A woman showed up at Keanu's door the next morning. Her eyes were wide, her hands shaking. My name is Clara, she said. I think I'm Liam's aunt, family. Beyond blood, KeanuReeves stood at the doorway, staring at the woman who claimed to be Liam's aunt. She looked nothing like Marie. Her hair was lighter, her voice softer, but her eyes held something familiar. Something sad. Something real. Liam stood just behind Keanu, clutching his journal tightly. He had finally started reading it the night before, flipping carefully through Marie's handwriting, learning things he'd never known. How she had stayed up through cold nights just to watch him breathe. How she sang songs to keep away the silence. How she feared she'd never see him grow up. The woman cleared her throat. "My name is Clara Layton. I'm Marie's younger sister. I only found out about what happened a few weeks ago. I was living abroad when Marie went missing. By the time I came back, everything had been covered up. No one told me she had a child, not even our father." Keanu narrowed his eyes slightly. He didn't want Liam to get hurt again. "Why now?" Clara's voice cracked. "I saw the news report, the trial, the picture of him. I knew it had to be him." Liam peeked around Keanu's side, studying the woman. "Do you remember me?" Clara's eyes filled with tears. "You were just a baby the last time I saw you. You had a blue blanket with stars on it, and you used to curl your hand around my finger when you fell asleep." Liam's expression didn't change. He didn't rush to hug her, but he didn't hide either. Keanu stepped aside slowly. "Would you like to come in?" They sat in the living room. Clara didn't touch anything. Her hands stayed folded in her lap, her eyes mostly on Liam. She told stories. How Marie used to braid her hair before school. How she once burned pancakes, trying to make breakfast in bed. How they used to build pillow forts during thunderstorms. Liam listened, quiet and still. "Why didn't you come looking?" he asked finally. Clara's voice broke. "I did, but everything pointed to Marie disappearing alone. No one ever mentioned a child. I thought maybe she left the country. I never knew you existed." Liam looked down at his hands. "I didn't know you existed either." Keanu watched closely. Liam wasn't angry. He was cautious, thoughtful. When Clara left that evening, she gave Liam something wrapped in an old cloth. This was Marie's. She wore it every day. Liam unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a silver necklace with a tiny leaf pendant. "She told me once," Clara said, "that it reminded her of you, because you were born when the leaves began to fall." Liam held the necklace tightly. He didn't speak, but he didn't let go. After Clara left, Keanu knelt beside him. "How do you feel?" Liam looked up. "I don't know yet." "That's okay," Keanu said. "We don't have to decide anything today." In the days that followed, Clara visited a few more times. Never pushing, never asking for more than Liam was willing to give. She brought photos, letters from Marie, even a recording of their voices singing together when they were kids. One evening, Liam came to Keanu with a question. "If I stay with you, does that mean I have to say goodbye to her?" Keanu shook his head. "Family isn't a choice between one or the other. It's the people who stay, the ones who protect your heart. You can love both of us or neither, or take your time." Liam thought for a long time. Then he said, "I want to stay with you, but I want her to be in my life too." Keanu smiled. "Then we'll make that happen." And they did. Legal guardianship was finalized. Keanu became Liam's permanent guardian. Clara signed paperwork to stay connected. An aunt who would visit, who would call, who would share memories but never try to erase what had already been built. The months passed. Liam grew stronger. He started writing his own story, literally. He turned his experiences into a children's book. The Boy Who Shouted, "Stop," it was called. It told the story of a child who saw something dangerous and found the courage to speak. Publishers were moved to tears. The book became a quiet sensation, not because it was written by a famous actor's child, but because it was honest, raw, brave. Keanu watched as Liam stood on a stage during a book reading, telling children that it's okay to be scared and still do the right thing. Sometimes, Liam told the crowd, the smallest voice can save the biggest heart. The audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation. One night, long after the lights had dimmed and the house was quiet, Keanu and Liam sat together under a blanket on the couch. Liam looked up. "Do you think Mom can see us?" Keanu nodded, slowly. "I think she's with us. Every time you smile. Every time you're kind. Every time you speak when it's hard." Liam leaned against his shoulder. Do you think she'd be proud? Keanu smiled. I think she'd be amazed. And as the night settled around them, Keanu closed his eyes, grateful for a boy who had shouted from the shadows, for a moment that had changed everything, and for a chance to build something stronger than pain. A family, not perfect, but real and full of love.